What's up guys, 7-Star Mike here, and today I want to show you a little bit about how to customize your screen in ThinkOrSwim for a day trade or scalp setup. Now, if that's not your type of trading, don't worry about it. There are ways you can customize your screen to show you exactly what you want to suit your method of trading, and this will show you how to do that, although I'm going to focus on day trading or scalping because that's typically what I do on a day-to-day basis. I do some swing, but for the most part, I like to be in and out, so I will day trade and scalp. So what we're looking at here, this is my main screen. This is not what I trade off of. This is what I'm watching throughout the day because I have a few constant tickers that I look at. Apple, Microsoft, Facebook, Visa, and lately I've been putting IBM on there because that's been getting a little bit of range throughout the day. MasterCard is on there because I was looking for a play last night on that one, and it had a very good movement today based on what I was looking at. And then I'll have 2 or 3 blank charts here to pull up anything that has news for the day, pull up anything that has good flow that I want to look at the chart for. And then down here I have the SPY. This is the SPY on the 1 minute, the 5 minute, and the 15 minute. So I watch that and gives me an indication of what's going on in the market. These are my regular 5 tickers that I watch on a daily basis. This one happened to be something that I was working on last night and wanted to make a play on this morning. And then these are blank just for whatever I find throughout the day that isn't on my typical radar. But this isn't what I trade off of. So let's say I'm watching one of these and there's a trade that I see. So for instance, Microsoft here looks like it's doing pretty good holding this 34 exponential moving average as a support. So let's go ahead and take a look at that one. Let's say I'm looking at this throughout the day and I want to make a trade on that. I'll switch to another screen that's going to give me my day trade and scalp screen. But what I want to do is show you how to set that up instead of just switching over to it. So if we come up here to the chart section, this might be what your charts look like if you have 4 grids on there. Make sure the flexible grid is selected. And then come over here to this part here, click on that, and it's going to pull down a drop-down menu. And we want to go to Customize Grid. And what that's going to do, that's going to allow us to change any of this setup to be exactly what we're looking for. Now, what I want to do here is start from a separate screen so I don't mess up my main screen. I do have that saved as a default, so I can easily switch back to it, but I'd rather just pull a new screen up. So this is a duplicate of that screen. And again, we're going to go over to this button here, come down to Customize Grid and click on that. And yours is going to look a little different. So what I'm going to do is delete all of these first and then show you how to put them back in to set up exactly what we're looking for. Now, there are different ways to set this up. You can play around with it and get your personal preference for how you like it to look. But let's say you start with your 1 grid. And the setup that I'm going to do for this here is actually going to be a 3-window setup. And it's a little bit different than what I would typically use, but it's close enough. And the reason I'm not showing you the one I actually use is because there's a few more things on there that might be a little confusing for newer traders. I want to keep it as simple as possible. So what I'm going to do is just show you the really basic version of the screen that I use. So if we're on one screen, there's a massive delay in there, but this is what one screen would look like. It finally brought us up to the single screen. There's 2 things we want to do here first, and we want to add our second and third screen by going to this button here. And if we click that, it's going to add 1 screen below our first one. It's actually the same screen. Let's call them grids. So it's going to add 1 grid below our first one. On the top, we want to click on this button here, which is going to add 1 grid to the side of the first one. So now we have our basic 3-grid setup. Come over to this button, come down to Customize Grid, click that. So those buttons are now off the screen. They're just out of our way. It makes it easier to see here. I have Apple pulled up here. What we want to do is come to this button right here, and it says Symbol Link. We want to pull down, just choose any one of these. Since I have a bunch of setups, I know I've got the first few of these linked in different setups that I use. So we're going to use 7 just because I know I don't use 7 for many setups at all. And the reason that's important is because we're going to come over here and click the same number and we're going to come over here and click the same number. And what that's going to do is allow me to type in this one box here. Let's say I want to switch over to Microsoft. When I change that one there, all three charts change to Microsoft. Because they're linked through that link there, I can type in this one particular chart and all three charts. This is Facebook, this is Facebook, this is Facebook. If I switch this one back to Microsoft, this is Microsoft, this is Microsoft, and this is Microsoft. So we want to link the charts so that if we're trading two tickers, if we go back and forth, the setup changes all three screens or all three grids for the particular setup that we're looking for. So you want to link those three charts, so you only have to type in the symbol once in one box. Now, for the day trade and the scalp setup, what I want to do at this first box, come over to time frame, make sure intraday is selected, time interval is today, and the aggregation period is 1 minute, and select OK. So this is showing me today's action for 1 minute. So each of these candles represents 1 minute of price action. We're going to come over to this chart here, click on your time frame setup, click on time frame. So the difference, these are favorites. These I have already set up depending on what I'm looking for, whether it's a day trade, a swing trade, or I'm doing research on a particular ticker. These are the time frames that I frequently use for most of my trading or research. So if you don't have those set up, this is how we get to it. Click on the time frame section. We want intraday, time interval, scroll up to show just today. And on this one, we're going to select 5 minutes. We're going to hit OK. So now this is Microsoft today's action on a 5-minute chart. We're going to do the same down here. We're going to come up to time frame setup, click on time frame. We want intraday. For the time interval, this time we want 5 days. And to cut down on some of the noise that we're going to see, we're going to change this to a 5-minute. So we have a 5-day, 5-minute chart. Click OK. So what we're looking at here is the main screen that I will use for day trades and scalps. And this is today's action on a 1-minute chart. This is today's action on a 5-minute chart. And this is the 5-day action on a 5-minute chart. So what this does is allow me to get the bigger picture of what's going on while I'm in a day trade or a scalp. Now, I didn't draw lines on this today. So this purple line that was on here from a previous day that I was looking at. It might have been drawn on this day because there's consolidation here. It tested it there. It actually tested it today. Actually, it looks like it came down. Was that the low for the day? If that's the low for the day, I might actually have drawn that today. But having the 5-day chart, you can see that it actually consolidates and it bounces off there as a support, consolidates a little bit there. So the 5-day chart's giving me an overall picture of what's going on with this particular ticker. The 1 minute is where I'm going to use my entries and exits. The 5-minute is where I'm going to use to find my trend for the day. So you can see it bottomed out. Maybe we call that a double bottom. Then it kind of has a higher low to it. At the second part of the day, we can start to see it trending up. The 5-minute chart is really going to show that trend. The 34 exponential moving average, which is this green line, is one of the lines I use for my entries and exits and support and resistance. And at this point, it breaks above it. You can see how it pulls back and it respects that line throughout the rest of the day until we get towards the end of the day, right? So this whole run here, Microsoft is respecting that 34 exponential moving average. So I'm going to use that as support. In this case, it's going to be resistance afterwards. I'm going to use that for my entries and exits as well as basic support and resistance, but I'm pulling all of that off this 1-minute chart here. The 5-minute chart I'm using to get the overall trend. And again, the 5-day, 5-minute chart is something I'm looking at to get a bigger picture of what happened in the last week of trading. So if this wasn't here today, looking at this chart, I can see that this would be a line of consolidation down here. It was support down here. So as Microsoft is dropping today, when it gets down to that line, I can see that that might be a potential area of support because it was here once and here twice. So if I have this line drawn from a previous 5-day chart, I can see where along the last 5 days that was an important line for this particular ticker. So having that on there, as it's dropping, I can see on the 1 minute chart that it's hitting that line and then it bounces back. It comes back down, hits it, and bounces back again. So the 5 day chart just gives me that overall picture of where I can start taking a look at some of the action in the past week of trading that might be an important level to watch. And on the 1 minute chart today, you can see it came down there and it bounced twice and then it started an upward swing. So again, 1 minute chart. That's where I'm looking at support resistance. That's where I'm looking at my entries and exits. 5 minute chart is showing me the trend for the day. And a 5 day 5 minute chart is giving me a little bit of a bigger picture as far as what's been going on in the last few days of trading. That's as close to my setup for day trades and scalps that I can get right now without confusing you a little bit. I do have a few other things on the actual charts that I use, but not much. As far as indicators go, the only ones I use, this green line is the 34 exponential moving average, and this yellow line is the VWAP. That is the only thing I look at as far as what I put on my charts. I will do a few other things after hours if I'm doing research, but during trading, I really just use these two indicators, is the VWAP and the 34 exponential moving average. 1 minute, 5 minute, 5 day 5 minute, that gives me a picture of what's going on with the ticker. And these two indicators will kind of help me decide support and resistance. And then I do draw support and resistance lines to basically time my entries and exits. So that's a real quick way to set up your charts to give you some information you need on ThinkOrSwim. It's very highly customizable, which is awesome. It can show you exactly what you want to see, how you want to see it. And if you like this setup, once you're done, come back to this button up here. It says Show Grid Actions. Come down here, Save Flexible Grid As. And since I have multiple monitors, it pulls up that window on the other monitor. So I'm just going to drag that over here. Save Layout As. You can type whatever you want in this box here. When you click Save, next time you go to open a ThinkOrSwim grid layout, it's already saved. You can pull this exact system right up. And this is what I use for day trades and scalps. So there's ways you can customize it to give you the information you want. That is ThinkOrSwim, and that is my day trade and scalp setup with the 1 minute for entries and exits, 5 minute to show me the trend for the day, and a 5 day 5 minute to give me a little bit of a bigger picture as far as how that ticker was trading for the last week. If you have any questions, you can send me an email at mike@sevenstartraders.com or simply leave a comment below, and I will be more than happy to answer any questions you have about how to set up a ThinkOrSwim grid layout similar to what this one is here. Thanks for watching. Happy trading.